Hello there and welcome to the series of videos that's going through the content of A-Level Maths. Here we're looking at Venn diagrams so we can answer questions from exercise 5b. So Venn diagrams, you've seen these before at GCSE. All we're going to do here is just introduce a new little bit of notation to do with Venn diagrams. So here is what a Venn diagram will look like. It's two overlapping circles, sometimes three overlapping circles, but very rarely, and it has a box around it. The box is important because that will contain everyone inside of this box, and if you're not in group A or B, then you've got to be on the outside of this box here. If there's no box, then you'll assume everyone is inside A or B. So this S here represents everyone in the sample space. B here is representing everyone who has a probability of event B. A here represents probability of event A, and the overlap here, more importantly, is those people who represent event A and B happening together. Okay. Alright then, so let's have a look at what these regions mean. So the middle area here is the probability of A and B happening together. And that's this notation here. So it's probability of A intersection with B. I read this as probability of A and B. In other words, A and B. Okay, so the little N thing here, it's not an N exactly, it's a intersection symbol, but you think of it as an N. The union of the two groups here, A and B, if you're working out this area here, you're effectively working out the probability of event A or B happening. So either A can happen, B can happen, or both of them can happen at the same time. We're not fussed either A or B, is just we want that to be happening. So when you see U, think OR. So A or B, try and say it with a U sounding like an OR. So probability of A or B, I don't know, however you want to remember it. Okay, and this part here, now all we've got coloured in here is everything that's not in A. And the way we would notate this is probability of A with a little dash above it, or just slightly above it to the right. And that means everything that's not in the probability space of A. So it's effectively 1 minus the probability of A happening. Okay, so N symbol means intersection, U symbol means both, and dash means not. Okay. Alright, let's go through a little example here then. So a card is selected at random from a pack of 52 playing cards. Let A be the event that an ace is drawn, and let D be the event that a diamond is drawn. Draw a Venn diagram to represent this information. So what we need is circles for A and D. So always fill in the middle part first. Okay, we'll see an example of this later on. But in this case here, how many cards do we have that's both an ace and a diamond? Well, just one card, the ace of diamonds. So we're going to put one card in the middle group here. Now we think about what we've got left over, and we need to bear in mind that we've already got this one ace of diamonds here within this circle here. Now how many aces are there in total? Well, there are 4 aces, however we already have one ace accounted for on our diagram, so we only need 3 to go in this space here. And what these 3 cards represent here are the 3 aces that don't have a diamond involved. So the ace of clubs, the ace of spades, and the ace of hearts. Okay, so when you're filling in this diagram, do take into account you've already filled in some of the information for this circle when you filled in the overlap. A similar thing happens for the diamonds. There are 13 diamonds in total. We've already accounted for the ace of diamonds here. That means we've got 12 more diamonds left to fill in our diagram. So 12 goes here. And then the next part, what we have to do now is we have to take into account, well, we've only got 16 cards in use here, but we have 52 playing cards in total in our deck. So therefore we need a total of 36 cards that haven't been accounted for to appear in the bottom right or anywhere else around these 2 circles here, but inside the rectangle. Okay, so let's answer a few little probability questions now. Probability of A and D happening together. Well, there's one card where there's an ace and a diamond out of 52 cards in total, so that's 1 out of 52. The probability of A or an ace or a diamond happening. Well, imagine you're picking a card out of a deck and you pick either an ace or a diamond. What's the probability of that happening? Well, we've got 3 aces that are not diamonds, 1 ace of diamonds, and 12 diamonds that are not aces. And it doesn't matter out of these 16 cards which one we pick. So it's 16 out of the 52 cards that we have in our deck. And we can simplify this to what 4 out of 13. The next question here is the probability of A dash. Now that's the probability of not an ace coming up. So we know the probability of an ace is 4 out of 52. So it's basically 1 minus 4 out of 52. Or you can effectively count up the number of cards that are not an ace, and that will give you 48 out of 52 as well. And we can simplify this to 12 out of 13. Let's have a look at a slightly more difficult question here now. The probability of not an ace appearing and a diamond appearing. So thinking about it, we've picked a card, it cannot be an ace, and it also has to be a diamond. So it's any one of these 12 cards here that are not included in the ace Venn diagram circle, but are included in the diamond Venn diagram circle. So in this case here, it's just these 12 cards out of 52, which can simplify to 3 out of 13. All of these 12 cards here are not aces, but they are diamonds. Okay, so that's how you read the notation there. Let's move on to a slightly different question here now. So in a class of 30 students, 7 are in the choir, 5 are in the school band, and 2 are in both the choir and the band. Draw a Venn diagram for this information. Well, as we said earlier, we need to fill in the intersection part first. So here 2 are both in the choir and the band. So 2 students are going to fill in the centre of this Venn diagram. Now for the band here, let's do the band first. We've got 5 students in total. 2 have already been accounted for when we filled in the centre of the intersection here. So we've got 3 students to fill in here, so that the total circle for those who play in the band equals 5. And for those who play in the choir, we need 5 here because we want 7 in total who play in the choir. So it's 5 that goes in here. Okay, we have 10 students that have already been accounted for out of a possible 30, so we've got 20 students that are not inside any of the Venn diagram circles. Okay, let's have a go at this question here. Find the probability of not being in the band. Well, 5 students are in the band, so 25 students are not in the band, so that's 25 out of 30. Or you could do a 1 minus. Okay, so another question here involving 3 overlapping Venn diagram circles. And remember, we have to fill in the most overlapping part first and then work our way out through those who overlap a little bit less and those who finish the diagram off. So we have 100 vet clients, 25 have dogs, 53 cats, 40 have fish, 15 have dogs and cats, 10 have cats and fish, 11 have dogs and fish, 7 have dogs, cats and fish. So the first part of this diagram we fill in is the seven people who own all 3 pets, the dogs, cats and fish. So 7 people are in the centre point of that Venn diagram here. Right, so let's now have a look at the parts of the diagram that only overlap twice and not 3 times now. So 15 have dogs and cats. So we're looking between the dogs and the cats Venn diagram circle. So it's this overlapping section here. try and fade out the fish Venn diagram circle from your vision. So it's just this overlapping part here between the dogs and the cats. So we have 15 people that should be in this group here in total, and we already have 7 accounted for, so we need an 8 to appear in that section there. 8 add 7 is 15. And we need to do this for these other 2 sections as well. So cats and fish now. So only looking at the overlap between the cats and the fish now, try and eradicate the dogs part of the Venn diagram from your circle, or try and blur it out in your vision. So we're only looking at this overlapping section here. 10 people have cats and fish. 7 of these people also have dogs. So we have 3 people here who have cats, fish, but not dogs. Moving on to the dogs and fish, we have 11 people here who own a dog and a fish. 7 of these people also own cats on top of the dog and the fish, so 4 people here only own the dog and the fish but not the cat. Now let's try and fill in these parts of the circles here. Let's first have a look at the 25 dogs. So just looking at the dogs circle here, we already have 8 add 7 add 4, so that's 19 pets accounted for, or people accounted for, who also own other types of pets. There are therefore going to be 6 people who only own a dog, they don't own a cat, and they don't own a fish. Looking at the 53 people here who own cats, we already have 18 people accounted for here. So we must have therefore 35 people here to complete that full circle of 53 cats. Looking at the fish now, so we've got 40 people here who own fish. We already have 14 people here who are accounted for, who also own other types of pets. So in this case here, we need 26 people here who own fish, but don't own any cats and don't own any dogs. Don't forget to work out this 11 marker down here, because we are told that we have 100 clients in total. So add all of these values together and subtract from 100, and you should get 11 to fill in the rest of this diagram. All 100 people should be accounted for in this diagram, so just do a double check to make sure that all these numbers add up to make 100. Okay, find the probability of getting a dog only, or owning a dog only. This is pretty obvious from the Venn diagram. We have 6 people here, so it's just going to be 6 out of 100. Always simplify your fraction where possible. Find the probability of people who don't own a fish. Well, effectively what we want to do is just count up the number of people who don't belong in this fish diagram, Venn diagram circle here. So it's 6 add 8 add 35 add 11. And we get 60 out of 100. So that's 3 out of 5 people. You could have effectively done 1 minus 40 out of 100 here, and you get the same answer. Find the probability who own none of these. I don't know why they would be a client at a vet if they don't have any of these types of pets. Maybe they own different types of pets, say a guinea pig or something like that. So 11 people here won't own any of these dogs, cats or fish. Alright then, your turn to have a go at this question here then. Take your time, draw out the Venn diagram nice and clearly. Make sure you look at the overlapping parts first and answer the questions below. Alright then, so there are 25 students in a certain tutor group at Phillips College. 16 students in the tutor group study German, 14 study French, 6 students study both French and German. The question here is to draw out a Venn diagram to represent this information. So the first thing we do is fill in the overlap, which is 6. Now let's put French and German here. It's a really good idea to label your Venn diagrams. So if we've got 6 here and we have 14 people study French in total, that means we need 8 students who only study French and not German. We have 16 students who study German, so we have 10 students here to make up that full Venn diagram circle of 16 there. And we have 25 students in total. Now adding these together we get 24, so we've got one person who doesn't study French or German. Part B, part I here is to find out the probability of people who study French. Well, that's going to be 14 out of 25, just from reading the question here. Part 2 is studies French and German. Well, we know that's 6 out of 25 from just reading the question. Part II studies French but not German. That would be these 8 people here. 8 people here are in the French Venn diagram circle, but they don't overlap into the German part. So it's just 8 out of 25. And part IV is do not study French or German. That's just one lonely person out here who maybe joined the school late and doesn't need to study French or German. Alright then, there we are. So that's your answer to this question here. Have lots of practice on exercise 5b. There are more difficult questions than this, obviously, so go ahead and practice those difficult ones. Persevere through them and ask your teacher for help if you need to. Thanks very much for watching.